Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top best makeup products of 2023. Hello friends, welcome back. If you are new, my name is Julie and I help you find the best affordable beauty, makeup, and fashion items, and I teach you how to use them to always look elevated, polished, and put together. So it is that time of the year where everybody is talking about their favorite products of 2023, and I thought I would do this video a little bit different, like where I apply my top best makeup must-haves of 2023 and also create like my most worn makeup look of the year. I thought that that would be really fun. So with primers, for most of the year, I didn't really use a primer. I'm not a big primer person, and a lot of the times I just use my sunscreen as my face primer. And you guys have heard me mention this a lot on my channel, but this is my favorite daily face sunscreen. But halfway through the year, I discovered the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. And on days when I do want to wear a primer, this is what I use. And I've used this quite a bit in my videos, but I really like this primer. Like I've mentioned it before, but it dries down to like a tacky finish, and it helps your foundations have something to like grip to and last longer. Which my favorite foundation of the year, I really don't need a primer with it because it is very long wearing. So another product that was halfway through the year that I rediscovered and fell back in love with, the Believe Beauty Skin Finish Foundation. Fell back in love with that. But my main foundation that I used consistently throughout 2023 is the Revlon Color Stay Makeup. And this is in the combination oily skin. Even if you have dry skin that's not combo, I still recommend this formula over the dry skin formula. It is just not the same. This stuff is amazing. It's full coverage, it's long wearing. I do recommend using this with a dampened makeup sponge though. If you use this with your hands or with a brush, it can be kind of hard to blend out and work with, but with a makeup sponge, it works perfect. So I usually pump some on the back of my hand and then just spread it out. So I have like an even amount of it to like dip onto the sponge, but this stuff is just like amazing. Honestly, if I got rid of all my foundations in my collection, I would be completely fine just using this foundation. I know it's gonna last me all day long and it's gonna look flawless all day. So I know that like nobody ever talks about this foundation anymore, but it is seriously the best long wearing foundation across the board, like high end or drugstore. It's just an amazing foundation. And I really like applying it with this Wet n Wild makeup sponge. I mean, any dampened makeup sponge would work really well with this. If you're not a makeup sponge person, you can use like a dampened makeup brush. Like just, you know, run it under some water, squeeze out the excess, and that also works well with this foundation. I think it just needs something a little bit damp with it to sort of sheer it out just a little bit and just make it a little bit easier to blend. But like if you go back and look at my yearly favorites, I don't always post them, but probably more often than not, this was my favorite foundation. Like that foundation has been my favorite for 10 plus years. When it came to my favorite lip conditioner of the year, this Dior, why did I just say Dior? I think I was still thinking of my sunscreen, the Dior Lip Glow Oil. This was my go-to this year. But recently I discovered, let me get it real quick. I recently discovered the e.l.f. Reviver Lip Oil, and this stuff is an awesome dupe to the Dior. This stuff doesn't change, like it's not a pH changing product, but this Dior stuff is, like it gets darker on your lips. So I do kind of like it for that aspect of it that the e.l.f. doesn't have. But this Dior lip oil was what I use most days to moisturize my lips before I would do my lip products, and sometimes I would also wear this on its own or with a lip liner. So I really like this stuff. I know it's not affordable, it is high end, but it's one of those products that if you love a good lip oil, I think it is worth the splurge if you want to treat yourself. For concealers, the first half of the year I was all about Tarte Shape Tape, and then I was on a mission to find a drugstore alternative to this. And in the past, I had used this e.l.f. Camo Concealer, but in the past, I had the wrong shade, and I just could not figure out what shade I needed. I finally figured out I needed this color in Fair Beige. That is my best match, and it's really close to the Tarte that I like, the Tarte shade. And the way that I figured out the shade that I needed was on Ulta's website. They have a shade match where you can put in another brand and the shade that you use, and it will help you figure out what shade you need in the brand that, you know, you're trying to find a shade match to. The Tarte shade that I use is in the color light, so that's what it matched me up, was with Fair Beige for the hydrating concealer. I do like the regular Camo Concealer. That one is the one that's most comparable to just the regular Tarte Shape Tape, but I just really like the hydrating one a little bit better. So yeah, this is just probably my all-time favorite concealer. This is my all-time favorite concealer for 2023. So high-end option, drugstore option. Really love both of them. Very long wearing, full coverage, and the hydrating one is just, it adds a little bit of like a luminous glow underneath your eyes, but as long as I lightly set it with the powder, I don't have any issues with it creasing, and it has amazing coverage. So, I mean, I know that that concealer has been out for a while, but I just, yeah, I really fell in love with it this year. Then for face powders, these were my two favorites this year. The L'Oreal True Match Super Blendable and the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. So if I want a powder that is more lightweight, I go for this one. And if I want one that is more full coverage, I go for this powder. But they both have the same effect on the skin and just blur out your pores, set your foundation, and they just look beautiful. So I'm going to use the L'Oreal one today. But this L'Oreal setting powder has been a long-time favorite. Like the Revlon Color Stay, it's been a favorite for probably 10 years, if not longer than that. There's just a great shade range on this powder, and I find that this powder is just really versatile because you can use it to set foundation. You can just use it as a powder foundation, like a lightweight powder foundation. And then I'll take a little bit more of this powder on this little triangle powder sponge and just lightly set the under eyes. Then a trick that I have been doing recently, and I used to do this, but after I apply my foundation and powders, then I like to go in with my setting spray. This was my top setting spray of 2023. I think this has been my top setting spray for the past probably 10 years. I just love it. It is like nothing can top it. I mean, I do like some other drugstore setting powders, but on it, or setting powders. I do like other like drugstore setting sprays, but honestly, like if I could only use one, this would be the one. It is an amazing setting spray. So just lightly mist it on, and then I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll go over top of it like with my other makeup, and then at the end I'll mist it again, and I just find that that really locks on my makeup really well and helps my foundation to really last. For brows, I tried out a lot of different brow products. But honestly, the one that I came back to and just decided that this is my favorite brow product is the e.l.f. Lash and Brow Clear Mascara. And I just love this product because it holds my brows in place, but it looks natural and it gives me a slight lamination. Not a super fluffy brow, just like a light fluffy brow, nothing like too dramatic. Like there was a period of time where I was trying to get into the e.l.f. brow lift, and sometimes I do like that product, but it's just not consistently good for me. But this product is, so that's why I just decided to come back to this. And recently I did discover the Wet n Wild Clear Brow Gel, but I'm not for sure if I like it better than this e.l.f. one quite yet. I feel like this e.l.f. one holds my brows a little bit better. So yeah, this is definitely a good, just basic, cheap, but make sure eyebrows look good brow gel. Once the brow gel dries, then I'm just going to go in with my favorite brow pencil. This is the NYX Micro Brow in Cool Ash Brown. It's such a nice shade. Like I used this color whenever I was blonde, and I can still use it now that my hair is back to my natural color, which is more of a light brunette. I mean, if you had super dark brown hair, this might be a little too light, but I feel like medium to light brown to blondes could get away with this brow pencil. Yeah, I feel like the brows for 2023 were all like about the natural brow. So not like super filled in, more fluffy and natural looking brows were in. So yeah, I just kind of go back through and fluff them up one last time. For bronzers, so most of the year I used the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzer in shade medium. Like as you can tell, I hit major pain on this year. And then towards the end of the year, I started getting back into this e.l.f. contour palette. And yeah, I just love this. It's very similar to the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer, actually. So if you are looking for a good dupe, this is a pretty good dupe to that. And I will link another video down below where I'm using more of these high-end products that I'm talking about in this favorites video, doing this similar look. So yeah, I'll have that link down below. I did that video, it was like my second video coming back after I had taken like that large break on YouTube. So if you haven't seen that video, like I said, I'll link it below. But yeah, I'm going to go in with this bronzer. I had other ones that I did enjoy. Like, I mean, I also really like the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Bronze It, but if I had to just pick two out of my collection and had to get rid of everything else, it would definitely be these two bronzers that I would keep. And I also really enjoyed the highlight in this e.l.f. palette. Okay, for blush, I definitely had a lot of blushes that I liked this year. The two that I reached for the most, this L'Oreal blush palette. This is their Infallible Paints blush palette. I can't find this in store anymore, but I have been able to find this on Amazon. So if you're interested in this palette, I will have it linked down below. And then I also really got into this Essence Pure Nude Baked Blush in the color Rosy Rosewood. I mostly used these two colors from the palette. Like, I used this blush palette so much at the beginning, midway through the year. But I usually go back and forth and like mix those two shades, but it's just such a beautiful glow. Like, I just love that color pink. on the cheeks. So, so pretty. And I know this year it was all about the blush. But yeah, Rosy Rosewood is just a beautiful everyday blush, and it has a nice satin finish to it. So like this is slightly a little bit more muted. So those are the two pink shades from the L'Oreal palette. I mean, they look pretty similar in color when you swatch them, but like as you can see, Rosy Rosewood is just like a little bit more of a natural, like, or neutral pink, where those other two are like brighter. But I just love a good bright pink blush. And then before I do the highlight, so eyeshadow primers. Most of the year I used my Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potions. I really liked this, especially on days when I just kind of wanted a one and done eyeshadow. I would put this all over the lid and then just set it with the MAC eyeshadow in Grain, and that was just like a good go-to look. So I think, and then towards the latter part of the year, I was on the hunt to find a good drugstore eyeshadow primer, and I found this Hard Candy one, the Hard Candy Longwear eyeshadow primer, and I've been enjoying it. It's definitely like basically a dupe, in my opinion, to this Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion, the original one. The drugstore has so many great eyeshadow primer options. They are hard to find. Like, I like the Wet n Wild eyeshadow primer, the CoverGirl lid lockup, the e.l.f. eyeshadow primer. Those are all really great ones as well. I just like this one, and also the Wet n Wild one is like this too, where you can squeeze it out of the tube so you can get all of the products out of there. And this Hard Candy one has quite a bit of products. This has 0.46 ounces, and the Urban Decays have 0.33 fluid ounces. So the Hard Candy has a bit more product in there, and it is more affordable. But let's use the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion in Sin today, because like I said, I did use this a lot, and I want to create like my favorite makeup look of the year. So that would include this eyeshadow primer. So, but yeah, it's just a great product to just even wear on its own. It's so pretty. And then I'm going to let that dry for a minute before I go in with my eyeshadow. So while that is drying, I wanted to share my favorite highlights of the year. So I have 3 of these. Let me get the other one. I forgot to pull it out. For an intense highlight, I loved the Wet n Wild Color Icon highlight in Bloom Time. This is such a beautiful highlight. It's so intense, and I just really like the tone of this. So, so beautiful. I feel like I'm probably saying that about a lot of products today, but it really is. Then the Balm Mary Luminizer. This was another highlight I used a lot. So this one is in between a intense highlight and a more like natural highlight. And it's more of a golden color. And then the highlight in this e.l.f. contour palette. I love this highlight. It's another favorite. This one is more natural out of all of those. So you have a few different options here. So we've got natural, which I know it probably doesn't look too natural because I built it up so you could see it. But like natural highlights, kind of in between, and intense. So, and then it's like kind of like a white gold, and more of like a champagne gold color. So those were definitely my favorite highlights this year, and I wore these highlights the most. So I'm going to use the one in the e.l.f. palette today, just because I've been really, really, really loving this. But like, see, such a beautiful, just like natural glow. Another really beautiful eye product, which I used this last week in one of my tutorials, and it's similar in color to this as well. So if you wanted an affordable drugstore option that is similar to this primer. This eyeshadow stick, it's the Maybelline Color Tattoo 24-Hour Eye Stick, and this is in the color I Inspire, I believe. I Am Inspired, but it's kind of the same. I mean, this has more of like gold little glitters in it, where the Urban Decay Primer Potion in Sin doesn't have that, but it's still in the same tone, and it also helps eyeshadows to last longer if you put eyeshadows on top. I mean, it is darker than the Urban Decay, but it kind of gives sort of the same effect. If I blend out, it's just like a little bit more rose gold, where the Urban Decay is more of just like a champagne color. Okay, but for eyeshadow, I wore minimal eyeshadow like day to day in 2023. So a lot of times I would just use a bronzer in my crease and maybe another eyeshadow on the lid. So I'm going to use the bronzer here, which actually I used this brush a lot for applying bronzer. So this is the Morphe R37 brush. I don't know if Morphe still makes this, but I would just brush that all into the crease. Just whatever bronzer I was using. Most days I wore the MAC eyeshadow in Grain. Like, this was a go-to. Another product that I used a lot was this Jason Wu eyeshadow palette. So if I wanted a more matte color that was like MAC Grain, because this is a satin eyeshadow, I would use a mix of like this color and that color on the lid. Or if I wanted a more warm eyeshadow look, I loved reaching for this palette. But like, see how those two shades are very similar? This one just has a bit of a sheen to it, and I don't even know if you can see that dip in this eyeshadow, but I used it so much. So I used both of these a lot most of the year, and then towards like midway through, I discovered the Wet n Wild. Not really discovered, like I knew it was out there, I just had never picked it up and used it, but the Walking on Eggshells palette. This is such a beautiful everyday palette. Love this so much. So you can create the same look that I'm going to do like with this palette. So I know that the pink shade in this palette is more shimmery than MAC Grain, but it's along the same lines as that eyeshadow. So yeah, these three products were the most worn eyeshadow products this year of 2023. And then Milani Brow Fix Brow Kit, the highlight shade, was the most worn like highlight. Or if I wanted a matte highlight, I reached for this color. So let's use Milani, because that's pretty much what I used most of the year for my brow bone highlight here. And let's go in with MAC Grain and put that all over the lid. Oh, I just realized I have black eyeshadow on that. Let's not use that brush. Okay. But yeah, this shadow just pairs so nicely with that Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same sort of effect as that Walking on Eggshells palette. So that is just a really good palette. So affordable, and you can create basically the same look. And then I'm going back with Milani and just popping this here in the inner corner. And then I loved using my blush in my crease. So I'm going to go back with this blush palette and just grab like a little bit of those two blushes and just lightly blend that in the crease. Like, I just loved the way that this looked this year. Definitely a go-to makeup look. For the longest time, I was obsessed with using this Benefit Highbrow pencil in my waterline. This is in the color Pink Linen. And I know that Wet n Wild used to make a pencil like this. I think I still actually have it somewhere. Here it is. It's like a little nub. One of you guys were telling me that Wet n Wild still sells this on their website, but it's the Ultimate Brow Highlighter, which is literally the same product as this. So it's kind of unfortunate if they don't make this anymore, because so much more affordable than this Benefit pencil. But I do really enjoy a nice pink color in the waterline. It's not quite as like harsh as white. Like, it looks a little bit more natural, but helps to brighten up your eyes and give you more of an awake look. So I loved using that this year. And then I didn't always use brown eyeliner, but if I ever did do an eyeliner look day to day, I would use a brown pencil. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And this is from Believe Beauty, which you can get at Dollar General, and it's their longwear eyeliner in Enchanted. Just kind of wing it up a little bit like that. Then I just wash these makeup brushes so they're kind of stiff. I would just smoke it out and smudge it out a little bit, either with like an angled liner brush or like a little brush like this. This is the Real Techniques Detailer brush. And then before I do my mascara, I'm going to mist my face again with the Urban Decay. Like I was telling you guys at the beginning, I would always do this and it would help to make my makeup last longer. My favorite must-have, most used mascara of the year is this Maybelline Sky High Mascara in True Brown. Just loved brown mascara. It's like if 2023 had, like, I feel like some years there is a certain makeup look that is just iconic for that year. This is that makeup look. I feel like this is just the everyday makeup look that people wore a lot in 2023, and it was definitely a go-to look for me. But I know a lot of people switched over and started using brown mascara, and in my opinion, and I know that there's other ones out there, but this is the best brown mascara at the drugstore. And I love the Sky High just because it gives you volume but is also very separating. Doesn't flake, it doesn't smudge. Just absolutely love it. For most of the year, I did wear nude lipstick, but my favorites, the Maybelline Superstay Ink Crayon in Trust Your Gut. I wore this a lot. Like, a lot of times I would put this on in the morning, and then once this started wearing off, I would use a little bit of this Dior Addict Lip Glow in pink. So I loved these together. And then I also really enjoyed these two MAC lipsticks. One of these has been discontinued, but this color in Fresh Brew is just a really pretty brown nude, and it's a cream sheen formula, so I loved that color a lot. And then this other color they still make, but it's in Modesty, and it's a really pretty nude pink. I wore this a lot. It's very similar to the Trust Your Gut shade by Maybelline, except for the MAC one is it's a, I'm trying to wipe off these eyeshadow swatches, but it's, the MAC formula is creamy and shiny where the Maybelline is matte. So let me swatch these on this other hand so you can see. Trust Your Gut is right here, and this is MAC Modesty. So those were definitely like go-tos. And then later in the year, I got into the Maybelline Vinyl Ink and Cheeky. Shake this up. And I'll swatch that next to these other ones. Like Mauve Nude Pink. Just, I was obsessed with that like lip color this year. So see, Fresh Brew is more of a brown nude where the other ones are pink. I'm going to do Trust Your Gut with this Dior lip glow today so you can see what that combination looks like. So just kind of line my lips with the Maybelline. And then I would just go in with this Dior in the middle. And I really like the effect of that, like how it's brighter in the middle and like a little darker around the edges. It's not like super noticeable, but just like a little bit. And I hope that you enjoyed my spin on this, like doing my most worn makeup look of the year, like day-to-day, everyday makeup. So if you enjoyed this, give this a thumbs up. I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye. Mwah.
Shouldn't doubt yourself, 'cause you're a work of art. You should know that you are perfect with those